Welcome to Simpro Presents, and today I'm thrilled to host an amazing discussion with Amy Carnrick, Simpro's new Senior Advisor, Field Services Transformation. My name is Jason Smith. I am the General Manager of Simpro's Financial Services business and your host for this episode of Simpro Presents, Innovation in Inspiration. During today's discussion, Amy will share her amazing journey from running a very successful plumbing business all the way through acquisition today of advising others on the operational challenges of the trade. She'll provide a glimpse of her experience as a woman in the industry, lessons learned from the field, and how she's helping businesses work smarter by leveraging technology and innovation, all parts of transformation. But before we jump in, can you provide a little introduction into Amy Carnrick and your background?
Yes. I do have a very typical entrepreneur story. I grew up in poverty and I just really wanted more for my life. So I kind of became a serial entrepreneur. I co-owned a small healthcare business, and then I moved on and co-owned a residential handyman business, and then I finished my degree and went into medical sales and sold into hospitals and surgical suites. And then when my oldest son, kind of decided he wanted to go into plumbing, he we talked about it, and I said, why work for somebody else? And so with all of my background, I was able to secure an SBA loan and buy a commercial plumbing company. And that's what I did. And really, for me, it was all about leaving a legacy and for my children to have options that I didn't have, and life opportunities that I had to scratch and claw for. So that's really my background.
That is absolutely
And now I'm a
amazing.
software advisor. This is my fifth ideation of my career. So who would have thought?
Well, I think it's fabulous. I think one of the things that you've said a few times is part of the success that you've had, you're continually paying it forward, which is absolutely amazing. But I guess, as we start this is, I get how you got started, but where did you actually start in building this business and running an everyday, I guess, successful plumbing business?
I have a little bit of, there's an element of lack of fear that I have. I wouldn't necessarily call it bravery, but when I had experience in the residential handyman business and I knew I could run a residential company, I assumed I would run a residential plumbing company when my son got his license. But at the time, a commercial construction plumbing company was available, and I was like, oh, this is even better and more profitable. Let's do this. Not knowing that, quite frankly, those are totally different businesses. And so for the fourth time, I had to learn a new industry. So it was definitely, I'm not sure if knowing what I know now, if I would do it again, but that's what I did.
That is hilarious. Well, obviously, as you rolled the dice on some of these, use your gut, leverage some of the past experiences. Couldn't have been all unicorns and rainbows. Were there a couple of challenges there in the early days that you said to yourself, holy smokes, did I make the right move?
Well, I do agree that I've heard this sort of saying or whatever, you really don't know if you're an entrepreneur until you found your head in your hands going, what in the world have I done? And what in the world am I going to do? And certainly, I absolutely had several of those days. One of them was my very first year in business. I overbooked my plumbing staff. And actually, this led into my buying Simpro, actually, because when you're asking your employees to work your very first year to work 60, 70 hour weeks for weeks at a time, their impression has to be that I was just trying to make as much money as I could. And that was absolutely not the case. I overbooked myself. And that was kind of, it was a lack of knowledge of the industry. So I went to my staff and I said, look, I promise you, I'm so sorry for doing this. I see my mistakes. I will do everything in my power to make sure this doesn't happen again. And I did. And I kept my promise, and I never overbooked my staff again 6 and 7 years later. But it wasn't easy. I had to come up with solutions around calculating labor and managing labor. And I came up with some very sophisticated solutions. I really did. I don't think many people in the market are doing it. So, and a big part of that was through Simpro. So there was that. And then there was COVID. When we had that was year 2. And we had a predominantly, we had 100% TI business, tenant improvement, which was moving offices to offices. And my business went from the first year, I think we grew to 2.6 million, and we went to 0. And that was, and I was alone pretty much. And I was, that's when I really learned to trust my gut, because there was nobody else. And so those were 2 moments that were really, really tough ones. So.
Well, it's a little different too when it's your business, it's your money, it's your checkbook. You got to make those tough decisions.
Mhm.
It's interesting. Was there a moment or a time that, or a project that in your career that actually led you to, led your perspective as a leader in the trades that you capitalized on?
Yes, actually. One of our favorites that I'm very proud of is doing the Superstars restroom at Red Rocks Amphitheater. Everybody knows about Red Rocks. And one of my plumbers who had been with the company prior to my purchase of the company, I call him John Wayne. He's one of the coolest, most talented plumbers out there, I think, in Denver. And there's not a lot of plumbers that could pipe through big red granite rocks. And he did. And but it was really fun for the whole company, because at Red Rocks there's a big stairway behind the stage, and all the stars and musicians that have come to Red Rocks sign the walls. And so, half the company got to go up and down those stairs and enjoy that. And he will be retiring soon, and he has the great pleasure of saying that he did that. So I think that was a really proud moment. There were so many. We did Coors Field, there was, but that one I think was, definitely memorable.
That definitely is memorable. I never thought we would get into Red Rocks in this conversation, but I'll
Uh-huh.
take it. Love Red Rocks.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you've seen a lot of success in building this business. It's not all, again, easy. There's a lot of hard times. But what was your experience, or how has your experience been like as a woman in a traditionally male-dominated industry?
It's hard even to this
Yeah.
day. You sort of build up some pretty thick skin and you kind of forget about it. And then all of a sudden something happens and you go, oh yeah, that's still there. Things don't bother me. Maybe things that should bother me don't bother me, but it is something I'm very proud of. I've always worked in male dominated industries, even previous companies, but working in medical device definitely prepared me, because working mainly with surgeons, they're mostly men, and the same with this. But all it does is make me stronger and dig my heels in more and prove people wrong when they challenge me. And here I am sitting on the other side of something that not very many people do. There's a saying, and I'm gonna maybe potentially butcher it, but it's not where you are, it's how far you've come. And there's very few people that have come as far as I have, from literally almost nothing. In fact, less than nothing, not even the support of parents or a home or whatever, growing up, to now a multi-million-dollar exit to a company. And I'm very proud. I'm not even as much proud of the business, but just where I've come. I mean, I am proud of that too, but it's not the money. It's what I've been able to accomplish. And certainly the journey is, you always hear that it's the journey, not the destination, but it really is. It's hard to believe that when you're in the thick of it, but it definitely is.
Well, I mean, you should be proud of that success. What you've built is absolutely amazing. And I know that you are an inspiration for a lot of people in the trades, not just women, but men as well. But, what advice would you give to other women who are considering careers in the trades?
I mean, absolutely go for it. I mean, it is so ripe for women because, to state the obvious, we're different from men. So we can contribute in ways, as an example, the labor calculator that I created, nobody has that. Nobody. And then I was able to capitalize on it. I saw it as an opportunity. And it's just, there's so much that we have to offer in the trades. Most of the women that I know that start in the trades, they advance very quickly. There's just, the sky's the limit. There's so many women. Well, there's a few women that have come before me that are general contractors that I just admire so much. And I think originally I was even afraid of it in terms of, just being able to understand the mechanics of it, or really wanting to deal with that type of day to day. But it's really rewarding. It's such a rewarding career. You're actually doing something with your, I did dig one ditch. I went in there when I overbooked everybody. I went in there and I worked with them. I'm not above it, but obviously the skilled tradesmen are the ones who do the work. But I think they're very proud of what they do, and it's really. We all are served so well as a result of all the work that they put in and building our
So you'll do it
infrastructure
again.
and everything. I'll do it
So you're
again.
going to do it again. Yes.
I don't know. It may happen.
Oh, I like it. I like it. You heard it here first. Well,
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I mean, it is truly inspirational. And, I do know that other individuals are following you and tracking everything that you're doing, especially as you're out there, as you have said, you're paying it forward, taking these learnings and the expertise to help that next generation of individuals getting into the trade. So,
Mhm.
congratulations and well done.
Thank
So,
you. It is important to me to pay it forward and to hopefully inspire other entrepreneurs. The old owner of my company used to kind of act like, oh, don't tell anybody anything because they might want to start their own business. And I was the exact opposite of that. If you want to start your own business, let me help. I am very, very, I gave out lots of books. I try to encourage people because owning your own business there's no greater reward. It's really hard though. It's much harder than you think, or I think sometimes I gave myself credit for. I'm definitely how does the saying go? The master of none, but I know a little bit about a lot of things, but a master of none.
hey, that's
So,
good. And,
mhm,
it's not always easy. And as you said, you're wearing many different hats. So
mhm.
let's shift gears a little bit and kind of getting into the operational side of what you've built, what you've done. Obviously, you've worn way too many hats through the last 10 years of building this business. But what was your approach to, I guess, successfully managing and driving every aspect of the business, from scheduling jobs, which you had some learnings there, collecting payments, to handling customer service on the back end?
Just to be clear, it was only 5 years. So we went from a million to 10 million. So 5.5 years. So it
Even
wasn't.
better, even better.
So I just want to, I'm a little bit proud of that. So, um, you know, it was an elephant, and I just had to, especially having no background in construction, I just had to eat the elephant one bite at a time. And
Yeah.
first there was tackling estimating and how are we going to handle that. And actually first was tackling the software. I had to figure out operations, and that is the number one thing. And what I realized I got myself into, just a basic program wasn't going to cut it, after learning about construction. And so that's when I found Simpro. And then within Simpro, I had to tackle estimating and then scheduling, and that labor management was such a huge piece that I had to conquer. And once again, nobody's doing it. And it was the way that I sold myself at a higher price, essentially, because I would, so many plumbing companies will bid a project and then not show up or be late or not be able to track time. And I was able to sell our company and say, we'll be there when we say we're going to be there. And that very basic principle sold my company and sold to general contractors and sold our reputation. And we built it very quickly, because something so basic is a real problem in the trades, but it's essential, especially in tenant improvement work.
Interesting. Well, and it's interesting how too, I mean, what is in technology, what's Moore's law? I mean, again, it's a little old from 1965, but every 2 years, technology doubles, essentially. Obviously, with AI and platforms like Simpro, we're doubling and growing a lot faster that. But, how did the advances in technology play a role, I guess, to enable you to scale the business at the rate you did? And again, in 5 years, you went from, you grew the thing to a great amount. But how much did you rely on technology there?
I mean, 100%. We only use Simpro. There's every tradesperson I know has multiple different pieces of software, one for estimating, one for this, one for that. And we used Simpro. And we, in an era where, all of our techs were saying, we can't do mobile, we can't do that. And all of my techs are using mobile. You just have to attack it head on. And except for one, John Wayne does not have to use mobile. So he plumbed Red Rocks. He does what he wants. And so anyway, we pushed out mobile. We pushed out all of our blueprints. All of our technicians could see everything within Simpro Mobile that they needed to do all the work, and they could then prepare. The good ones would prepare in advance. Even the bigger companies wouldn't push out the amount of information. We let our professionals be professionals, and they appreciated it, because they could then plan their days and their work to the best of their ability. Another huge one was invoicing. I mean, our invoicing through Simpro, it cannot be understated. I haven't heard of anyone else doing it, to be honest. And we started our estimates with a schedule of values from the estimate to the invoice, and we were able to invoice based on a percentage of completion throughout that schedule of values. And Simpro calculated the whole thing. It made it so easy for the project manager to invoice. And then we got paid much faster than most contractors, but I didn't have to keep track of it. Keeping track of a project on a schedule of values is an incredibly daunting task, and Simpro did it for me. So it's really quite amazing. And then my collections, I think I wrote off, almost nothing, I would say. Maybe $10,000 in 5 years. It just, everything we did, to the point my staff got sick of hearing it from me, put it in Simpro, because we wanted to be paperless. We wanted to be, and this is just something that isn't happening in the trades. The trades are going to have to adopt better technology, and the ones who do will fly. So just like I did.
Yeah,
It's the
that's
truth.
amazing. It is. And we hear it all the time, obviously, in the industry, the all-in-one solution, reduce the complexities.
Mhm.
And I can constantly say is technology is the great accelerator to help drive efficiencies,
Mhm.
especially in the trades where it's heavy human engagement and involvement, which is amazing. But, as you look at this, what do you think the biggest challenges that is facing field services today, and also what's coming in the future that you think will be daunting?
Well, I think we all know that the labor shortage is a huge issue, but I never really was concerned with that because I felt if I offered the best culture and some of the best pay, not just the best pay, but also culture. Culture matters. And we appreciated and valued our employees. And that is why we retained the best employees. But I think labor shortage is obviously a huge one, which hopefully I see a slight turn hopefully coming, but that may be 10 years away. But definitely that's a huge issue for everyone. Yeah, that's a big one.
That's a big one. And you're right, especially I think you mentioned it early on, since COVID, the trades have really changed. And since then, and we see a lot of evolution and change, and technology is playing a role in that. As you're in this role of transformation in field services, what does that mean to you as you think about change?
Well, I think encouraging other entrepreneurs that change is hard, but it's good. And you have to push through and you'll be better on the other side. The other thing is with our trades folks, I mean, technology is, and we've got a younger generation of tradespeople. And with AI, we can fix things a lot more efficiently, a lot better resources and knowledge at your fingertips, I think. So it'll be fun to see how, I mean, I really don't see a I mean, not anytime in the near future where robots are fixing things, but I can see where, human beings, you can fix things better, faster, more efficiently. And I think that's all a really good thing. And so I think tradespeople really have to adopt and accept technology. It's the way of the future. And I think my role here at Simpro, is, obviously to encourage technology for sure, but I want to I would like for entrepreneurs to be able to see that if they embrace it, you know, they can be far more profitable. We had, I don't know, I think our profit margin was like 30%, which is unheard of. Very close, just shy of 30% was our net profit. And we could see in the middle of a project or before a project as pricing was going to change, we could see what was going to happen. We were 3 steps ahead of everybody else in the market. And that's the key. And nobody else is doing this. It's my job to tell the world. So
That is true. You know, it's funny. I speak for, the 700 other Simpros within our company that we are thrilled to have you on board. But what actually drew you to this new role of transformation lead for Simpro?
well, I think that, when you have a company, I mean, obviously I worked all the time. You don't grow like I grew without going all in. And then when we sold the company and there was just nothing, it didn't feel like I had relevance anymore. And so Simpro was a way they heard about me. I was apparently one of their bigger customers in the US. And I had worked with a lot of the Australian partners, which was a lot of fun to experience that and work with a different culture. And that's how Simpro heard about me through one of the partners that I worked with, putting together some Power BI reports for the company. And it's just an opportunity to still feel relevant, and to be able to contribute. And that's very important to me. Retirement, at this, I'm still fairly young, and I still I really care, and I do have a passion for small business. I've been very involved with the SBA. I've been, I believe so much. I mean, being an entrepreneur is very scary, and it's a lot of work, but there's nothing more rewarding. And I really highly encourage people to do it. And so it's important to me to support entrepreneurs. And this is Simpro is a way that I can do that with the trades. And I believe a meaningful contribution. So.
Well, I think Simpro, but also the industry, is grateful that you are still paying it forward and helping the next generation. What's the biggest misperception of people, have about the trades or getting into the trades?
I think that there's a misconception that having a trade job is sort of a less than job or something like that. And it's absolutely not. In fact, I've walked into many buildings with my plumbers, and we worked in mostly skyscrapers or whatever, and just seeing a sea of cubicles and thought, oh my, I'd much rather be you than them. And I hate to, all is good as long as you're a contributing member of society.
Yeah.
Good on you. But it's nice to be able to work with your hands and see something meaningful, and to really literally build things. I think it's just a very tangible thing that you can walk away from and be proud of. And I think that it's a shame that right now I think it's less and less, but that it's not as important as a desk job or any other, maybe someone with a college education. But I'm seeing lots of people that are getting have gotten their college degree. We had several that were coming back to learn plumbing as a trade. So people are coming back and realizing, and I mean, I still think there's value in an education for sure, but it doesn't mean that you can learn, like Elon Musk says, you really don't even need a college degree now. You really just need, the internet and books. You just have to have the desire to learn, and that doesn't make your career less than.
Well, and now I'm curious, what's your one piece of advice for someone starting a trades business today?
Buckle up. It's a heck of a ride. It really is.
Yeah.
And while it is a fabulous career, and a fabulous opportunity for anyone, but it's not for the faint at heart. That is for sure, because it's just, it's not, there's always some type of building flooding, or somebody's in a van accident or whatever. There's always some sort of drama going on. And so you do kind of walk into you get this glazed over look when you go to work. What's happening today? So but it goes by quick, that's for sure.
Well, 1 year to
But it's
5 years.
meaningful. And and if I mean, it's been, I've been very blessed and done very well financially as a result of it. And my staff, they have done very well and been very blessed. I mean, this is a great paying job, all of them, and some of them. The other thing that I think is really, I do want to say with this, the other thing that I think that is misunderstood out there by even myself, I thought a plumber is a plumber is a plumber is a plumber, and they're not. There's plumbers that do service, and there's plumbers that do industrial work, and there's plumbers that never get dirty. There's boiler techs that are highly, highly sought after, and they're probably smarter than a lot of the engineers out there. So there's so many different avenues within each of the trades that I don't think are thought about. And it's just really a great opportunity for a lot of folks to, you know, have meaningful and very profitable work.
Well, on that note, that couldn't have been more inspirational and great advice for, others that are getting into the trades. And Amy, thank you very much for joining us on this episode. Not only a great success story, but also truly inspirational. And, as you're continually paying it forward for the next generation, hopefully they will reach out to you, seek that advice, that domain knowledge that you have, and again, help them get into the business. And all of you listening, thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed this episode and are as inspired as we are here at Simpro to have Amy on board to help us in the next generation of this transformation. Thanks, Amy. Have a great
Thank you
rest of the day.
so much for having me.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.